forklift?
Yeah, yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
All right, welcome back to the AJC, everybody. Anthony smiling, Lexus smiling. It's good to have her back. Wish it was under better circumstances. Obviously, we are here to tackle. We were hoping we were going to get to be able to tackle us reaching the finals. Not so much. And not only did we not reach the finals, but it was probably one of the worst performances I have ever seen out of a Juventus team. Not even talking about this season or last. Arguably one of the worst displays I've ever had to witness from this club. All right. And again, we're going to tackle it all. We're going to go through the highlights. There ain't much in that game. We could probably tackle all of the attempts and still have plenty of time left over. All right, everybody. There's a lot to talk about. I see the chat is absolutely gone mad, and that's expected. We are going to take some time, say what's up to all of you. Real quick, housekeeping out of the way. If you're tuning in on your audio outlets, head over to YouTube. That's where you get all the extra content, daily news videos, and extras like interviews with Roberto Bettega, okay, which was our last. Check that out if you haven't had an opportunity to yet. Ways to support the channel. Thank you to everybody who already has, but now we have memberships. You have to do it through your desktop, okay, on YouTube and whatnot, but memberships there with 3 tiers, different set of perks. Check that out. We have merchandise, and super chat is enabled should you choose. Again, thank you to all of you who have. Now we're gonna take a look quickly at some of the comments that are dropping in here in the live chat already, and let's just see Alex Juve right here. This Allegri is killing Juve. The players, the fans, I don't feel like watching the games anymore because there's nothing to look forward to. All right.
Well, there's
That's
life. You can look forward to life.
Probably set the tone. Jeremiah, hi guys. In a nutshell, this Juve squad is Pride of Lions led by a sheep. Max 2.0 is a fraud, a coward. Regressed manager who is obsolete in the modern game. Wow. Okay.
Hey, you're
Apex
getting a
says,
free jersey
Bremer,
this year, bud. You need to calm down, Jeremiah.
Bremer made a crucial mistake in most of the big games that he played this year. He's lucky that Dzeko goal got called off because 37-year-old Dzeko turned him inside out. Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad look for Bremer there. Gina Elias saying disaster game yesterday, going into a semifinal and decisive game with a shit attitude and 0 strikers. I put it all on the coach. Marcio saying, unfortunately, the environment behind the scenes is influencing the performance of the team on the field. There is already in just a few that I've got here, a lot of different ways we can go, all right? So we are going to, of course, tackle everything and get into this and our overall thoughts. And this show can probably go a lot of different ways, and we'll see.
It's gonna. It's gonna.
Yeah, I think it's going to go many different ways.
Well, you've already ruined it. You've already ruined the show. You completely blew the plot. You like we stunk. Like what do we even have to get into? We stunk. Like your whole monologue at the beginning. What are Lex and I even doing here? By the way,
are
good
we
morning,
done?
Lex.
Yeah,
Good
I
to
guess
see
we're
you.
done.
Yeah. You know,
Here's your
Lex
highlights,
got
everybody.
ready. I got ready.
That's it.
Inter scored within 20 minutes.
Ugh.
Game over. That's
Game
part
over.
of the problem. That's part of the problem right there. We're going to get into it. The lineups, starting lineups, obviously, without rehashing a ton of what was going on, okay, obviously, we talked about some of the concerns. The concerns with not having a striker and the way we play and trying to get out of the back and not having a target man. But we said maybe this helps the counterattack game if we're going to try to utilize that extra speed instead and still have a guy like Kostic on the field and not being removed by Chiesa. Who knows how it's going to play out. Bonucci, we had concerns about Bonucci. All of a sudden hasn't played in a long time, has been dropped in big games, and nonetheless, he gets out there. So we had concerns about the lineup going into it, but ultimately, I don't think it would have mattered with an attitude like that we put on display.
We
Simply,
could have had Jesus Christ himself on the field yesterday. It wouldn't have made a difference.
well, this is just it. It comes down
Hmm.
to the ideas and everything. Let's just get into quickly the game points, and because this is going to be very, very quick, everybody. All right, and we do have news headlines and whatnot. Obviously, today a very interesting day for Juventus because we're going to find out their defense and their summarized and point by point tackling the salary
Exciting.
maneuvers case. We're going to find that out today. Vlahovic
That's the good stuff.
trained separate from the group
That's
again
correct.
today. Those are essentially the only two headlines. The third one that we're going to get into as part of this game recap is Max Allegri with another outburst, apparently towards certain Inter managers, whatnot, even Marotta in the tunnel after the games. Okay,
Was
so
there any mention of eating someone else's heart?
no, no
Okay.
mention of that.
All right.
Now, all right. So we get start of
Oh,
this game,
nightmare.
and already it's 2 3 minutes in, and Inter's crossing the ball, and we look a little bit out of sorts in terms of coverage at the back. Get away with one that Dzeko can't latch on to, and honestly, it's all them to start this game. And
Hmm.
Juve looks like they haven't even realized that the whistle went. And 15 minutes in, there you go. Totally asleep at the wheel at the back. Sandro keeping DiMarco on side, who was actually behind DeCilio and Bremer at the back there, and actually was able to come back in, get on side, as Sandro is not even close to holding the line with the other three defenders. And Bremer nowhere near, doesn't even realize, I think, DeMarco's there or whatnot, can't catch him, and DeMarco slots home 1-0. Absolute disaster start for Juventus. And I think one of the things that probably made this not as bad as things could have been is that if there's anybody that can give Max a run for his money on being pragmatic, it's probably Simone Inzaghi. And then
100%.
Juve, yeah. So Juve starts to get possession, but it really doesn't matter if you have no idea what you are going to do in the attacking phase, which
Not a clue.
I think we can all agree. Watching that yesterday looked like we had absolutely zero idea what we were going to try to do or wanted to do to try and hurt Inter.
Lex, did you see an idea in there anywhere?
No, couldn't find one.
Okay, we're all on the
Yeah.
same page then.
I think our best chance in the first half was a cross from out wide that I believe DeCilio gets to around 14 yards out
The
and heads
header?
it. And that's our best opportunity. There was crosses going into not only Chiesa, but at sometimes Miretti. Aerial duels with those defenders and Chiesa and Miretti, and like I said, our best opportunity, a header from Mattia De Chilio from 14 yards out. That should not be the case ever.
There,
Flat out.
Lex, you had something there?
And Kostic's right-footed shot, his
That's
weak foot
that's the one I was
shot,
getting.
that was the other
Yes, so he
decent
33rd minute, he
opportunity.
forces a save from Onana. He's always all over that one.
Yeah.
Relatively easy. That's it. That's it. That's your highlights first half. Like,
For the
I didn't
game.
even have words. So whoever was on the main, I think it was you, Ant, yesterday. Thank you for doing that.
Love it to work.
You know, you put out the halftime. What do we need to do? Do we need to make? And I said, pray, pray. That's how I
I had
felt.
no, I had no idea what to write. There was a lot of angry people out there, and I did what I could to soothe the ruffled feathers of all the Juventini out there. But really, I'm watching the same game there. I had one, no idea what the hell was going on. Two, there was no passion whatsoever. Like no drive, no whatever adjective you want to throw in there. Nothing. I was like, oh, you want to know something? They're going to come out firing in the second half. I'm very excited for the second half.
Man, Lex, first half.
Same page as you two. I had no words. I watched this game with my noni actually, and even my nona was like, "They keep running and they just can't score." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a lot of that. A lot of just." aimless running, not really sure what's trying to happen out there. So I was on the same page, just at a loss for words, wondering like, what did I just watch the last 45 minutes?
Yeah, we get a change at half, and it's Milik coming in for Kostic. And again, that one, how did you guys take that sub? Like, obviously, we needed a striker if that was going to be our game plan, and we still want to stick to the crossing and whatnot and a target man. But Kostic being the one coming out, it's still on the field didn't really technically make a lot of sense with the other guys. There's still a massive, massive lack of organization and ideas. But Locatelli comes off in the 63rd minute. To be honest, Locatelli was pretty rough yesterday. He was pretty rough. They had a couple opportunities from him making errors in our own half as well. He had a rough go. So Paredes comes on. It is what it is. I saw people attacking Max for subbing, making that sub and saying you need goals and whatever. But honestly, yeah, Locatelli, that was a bad showing. So regardless of team play and everything, he was very, very bad in yesterday's game. So Paredes being the one, whatever, take your pick. But offensively, I'm not so sure I would have went away from Kostic in order to try and to get Milik out there. For whatever reason, our forwards, it's late April, we can't figure it out, and we haven't been able to figure it out and put it together. So at the start of the year, what frustrates me so much is that we kept hearing about, we need all these guys. Well, April has been a month where we have probably been the most healthy. And April has been a month where we have looked probably the worst. So what is it? Do you need those guys? Because it doesn't seem to really matter and nothing's really changing. Is that too harsh from me? Or like...
Max, go ahead.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that it just comes down to approach. And I know, Al, like you and I talk about this a lot, just in terms of how we approach games and how we're set up. And I think it's still not there. Like the puzzle still isn't put together properly. And as you mentioned, we have all of our pieces back now. Finally, we've been waiting for these guys to be healthy. And I mean, aside from Vlahovic yesterday, but we still just haven't seen it. Like I haven't seen progress. I haven't seen the vision of what we want for this team. And I think like yesterday was a good indication of that. And I think even just the starting lineup was just, there's so many questions surrounding that. I know we haven't really gotten into that yet, but there was just no striker. Like there's so much going on there that was definitely made it confusing as to what we were trying to accomplish when we set out on the field.
Yeah, I think like one puzzle piece was flushed down the toilet. The dog ate another puzzle piece. Another puzzle piece is lost. Some are still in the box. That's what it looks like. It doesn't even look like we have all the pieces. That's what
Yeah.
April looks like. Now, someone asked for a number earlier, what our track record is when we're down 1-0. I looked this up for yesterday. I never got to share it. When we concede a goal, not including yesterday, we are the entire season, all competitions.
Yeah.
When we concede a goal, we are 4 wins, 7 draws, 13 losses. Now 14. When we concede 1 goal, at least 1,
And
we have 4 wins.
and let's just get this out of the way, because we were
That's
all
not
hoping
good.
the same thing, that Juve would turn it up, dial it up at least second half, fight for this, and at least find an equalizer, make it interesting, compete. For the love of God, compete, because that first half was so pitiful. Not the case. A drab affair continues.
But hang on a second. Whoa, hang on. Whoa, timeout. You asked earlier about the 4, because we went to a 4-3-3 with Milik coming in. I think that's what happened. Did in the second half, Inter didn't do anything. They didn't. Not a thing. They just rode it out in second gear. And that's how bad we were, that we had more, I would assume we had more possession, seemed that way in the second half, but we did absolutely nothing with it. Not
This
a thing.
team, okay, regardless of, because I agree with you, Inter was, like I said, the only thing that stops this from looking as bad and embarrassing as it actually should have been, based on how we played, is the fact that Simone Inzaghi can give Max Allegri a run for his money on how pragmatic you can actually be. And through all that, in the second half, still, the better chances came from Inter. And in the 66th minute, with Dumfries beating Paredes and Paredes having no chance and going there, Bonucci not just slowing up and allowing that lane for that curling back post cross, and nobody keeping up with Lautaro. Very fortunate he doesn't tap that into a goal. Not only that, beyond that, in the 73rd, I could be wrong on that, 73rd, massive stop from Perin on Mkhitaryan after a set piece gets deflected and falls to his foot. That's a huge save. Those instances stop what could have been an absolutely even worse scoreline, which could have easily been 3-0.
Padin had another one in the first half when he had to go down to his left from a close range shot. I think it was Barella. Can't remember. He had a close range shot that he with no rebound. So really, there was another one there. He made a big stop.
Best chance for Juventus in the second half was Di Maria cutting in off the right side after Rabiot had launched a cross corner ball, and he cut in and he put a dribbler at Onana on the ground. That was our best opportunity in the second half. And in the first half, it was the same. It was Kostic cutting in from the left, having a go right-footed on his off foot there. So at the end of the day, we finished this game with 5 total attempts. I can't do this. I can't keep. This is it.
Like, go ahead, Al.
This is exactly why when the Napoli game ends and everybody's in an uproar about the officials and the calls and stuff, and I say, stop worrying about things that are out of our control and worry about ourselves, because it masks a much bigger problem. It masks a much bigger problem. And the fact remains that a team that wasn't scoring a lot throughout this year has gone completely stale and even worse offensively, if that was even possible. And the numbers just keep going and the games keep going on and on and on, and all that other stuff, officiating, whatever, it's all noise. It's noise. And it's masking the bigger problem that we are so abysmal offensively. The worst part about the game yesterday that really pissed me off, it wasn't even the loss. It's the fact that the second they scored that goal, you could see and you could feel it. You could feel it in the fans. You could feel it in the team. You could see it on the pitch that they just almost didn't believe that they could even do it. And that's the part that kills me the most, is that the fino alla fine almost doesn't even exist in this team.
Yeah. Where do you get that? How do you get that back? It's good. There's going to be a lot of questions that have to be answered this summer. Oh, by the way, Napoli Dom has jumped in here. Thanks for your support, Dom. Be sure you like the channel while you're here, Banana Head. All right, but we won't get into what we think about Napoli. But again, thanks for supporting. We appreciate it. How you fix that? There's a lot. This game really shows that there are more questions than answers. And where do you start? Like, you have the whole Max out. I've been a Max supporter, I guess, through all this, especially everything that happened in January. I still stand by that he was the right guy when the points got deducted, the way he handles things, the way he handles the media. But there was one of his comments today or was post-game presser about, we have to look into like the problems that we're having and whatnot. Well, he's one of the problems. Like, you cannot mask it anymore. There's no real excuse you can make for Max anymore. It's his team on the field, and you brought up a good point. They're healthy. We have a healthy lineup, other than, Keane's out, Vlahovic's out, but still everybody else is ready to go. The excuses are starting to run dry.
Well, that's essentially it. That's essentially it for me, is how much longer do we go? How long can you continue to break all the wrong records without And it's not to say that he's the only one at fault. It's not to
He's not.
brush away the
No.
players and the roster quality, but at the same time, you have to factor in the roster quality. And if this is going to be, if Romeo Gresti comes on this show and tells me we're going to have a pretty soft mercato in Italy as a whole, well, if that's what I'm seeing on the pitch, then we're not going to be bringing in the second coming of the Galacticos for Max Allegri. So if this is what he can achieve with these guys, I'm sorry, but it's falling flat on its face, and we've gone like this season. Up and down, up and down. But the problem is, even when it was up, the question marks were still there. Because those people that were hanging on to all the results, and I was saying, hey, what have I been saying for like 2 months, Ant? The final piece of the puzzle for Max, for me to be comfortable with, is getting the key guys integrated and feeling and acting as though they are key guys.
Mm-hmm.
He is unable to do that right now, and that's a big problem. That is a huge problem. You can't have a guy like Chiesa seemingly not even on the pitch, because that's what it feels like and looks like. You can't have Di Maria dropping in behind midfielders nowhere near an area we need him to. You can't have all three of your strikers only able to get one goal in 14 matches. Like
15 matches.
15 now. Yes, thank you. Something has to give. Now, again, factoring in the roster and everything like that, you're always going to bear the majority of the weight in that position. That comes with the territory of being a head coach. And at Juventus, we have gotten rid of coaches for far less.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we doing? Are we at the point now where we are protecting Max for what? And if you want stability, I'm all for that. I want stability. But you have to give me something that is worth saying, okay, I'm going to stick this out and I'm going to ride this out with this guy because I see this, this, and this. What are those things that you could possibly see that we need to latch onto?
Lex, you're an Allegri in person, aren't you?
Oh yeah, totally. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing left, Al. I agree. If there was even anything there in the first place, like it was just for me grasping at straws, even prior to this game and even earlier in this season and last season when we had brought him back. There's so many question marks. There's like even yesterday, for example, like where was Gatti, Danilo, or Fajoli in that lineup? Like that was just astounding to me, considering those were probably some of our top performing players as of recent, and the fact that they weren't there, like I was just like, how do you choose a lineup like that? And as we turned so many things we've talked about with Max too throughout the season, as you said, there were so many games like I can recall from earlier in the season where, I think it was that unbeaten run. What was it, 8 games unbeaten or something? And it was just the luckiest, like scrappiest run you've ever seen. Like 89th minute set piece goals, winning 1-0, and it's like, this is like top cortomuso ball and everything. And some of us like had concerns like this is not a sustainable way to play, and it's like it's gonna run out that luck. Like eventually it's going to catch up to us, and it's unfortunate it's happened in April, but it feels like it's caught up to us now, and we're just, the pieces aren't clicking. And as Al mentioned, one of the other big criticisms that I have of Allegri is that our top players, our top guys, don't look like our top guys at all. Like we always said that he can make average players look decent, but he makes the good players look not good, not at their best. And we need those top guys to be firing. And, in terms of roster, like I know there's a lot of debate surrounding this too, but as I've always stood by is I think our roster is a 7 or an 8 out of 10, aside from missing fullbacks. For me and maybe center back depth, I think that we have a solid roster. Like give this group to a De Zerbi or an Italiano, a different coach with a different mindset, and I think that we excel.
You cannot go one episode of this show with Lex without Italiano being brought up.
I blame Matt.
Can't.
I saw a comment from him
Stop
in the comments.
it.
And I will admit, I was on the other side of the fence on the 8-0 run. I was like, look, he's the guy. Look, we got the team. He knows how to handle the ship. And there was people on both sides saying, right? Oh,
Yeah.
this is just like masking everything. And I was on the other side. I'll admit it. I was on the other side saying, Max has got it. Let's just trust the process here. Oh, jeez.
I will say this.
Wheels are starting to fall
While
off.
we want to jump on Max for the players and stuff, I'm not actually jumping so much on the decisions of the players yesterday. What I'm jumping on him more is the fact that you went away from a striker without changing any type of ideas or instruction or how we were going to approach the game. That was the bigger problem for me. While we're bringing up guys like Bonucci and DeShilio, and we had concerns or whatnot, number one, if you take DeShilio out of the right wing back role with Cuadrado being suspended, who are you playing there at right wing back? So that's a handcuff moment for
Sule?
Max. Cause no, he's awful there. We saw that, and that ended quick
Exactly.
and needed to end quick. So while I think we could be potentially a little bit harsh on the personnel. Okay, so I want to take the names out of the equation because I think he's a little hard done by in that sense. However, going back to my point, the problem I just can't stand is when I look at that yesterday, you plugged in players, and now all of a sudden you got Chiesa, Di Maria on top, whatever, but you play the exact same. And it's the exact same if Vlahovic was in there, if Milik was in there, and that is not Chiesa's game, and everybody knows that. And are we surprised that he goes invisible essentially in a game like that? No. No. So, again, he's got some handcuffs in there, but for me, the biggest thing, and if I can now look at this for Allegri, we can't stick to him for what happened in the past. And people continue to bring up his past. Now Max is seemingly losing the plot, losing his shit on other teams, other managers, continuously bringing up. He said to Spalletti, you got one Scudetto, whatever. Yesterday, he's complaining. He's giving them shit to Inter and their manager saying you're going to end up finishing sixth or whatever, goes in, loses it on his team and says we got to keep them out of Champions League, whatever. Max, you can rah. You can say whatever the hell you want, but at the end of the day, what you've achieved in the past is exactly that, in the past. And I say this all the time, in life, in business, in sport. You want to get ahead, stop looking in the past and stop looking behind you. Back then, we needed a man manager, and Max was the right guy. Yesterday, I think it was on full display that this group of players, this team needs a coach, not a man manager. They need ideas. They need help. They need organization. And I swear to God, I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. And I had...
I got a question for you. Do you think the players have given up on Max? That's what it looked like yesterday to me. Looks like they just completely gave up.
I think there's a lot going on, obviously, with the circumstances behind the scenes. And I think that's actually affected this group a ton. We would be crazy to think that it hasn't. Okay? It's witch hunt after witch hunt. It's battle after battle. It's no management team. Max is the guy. That's part of the problem. There's nobody else. The board of directors is all legal, like accountants, lawyers. That's it. That's not a management team, everybody. Like those guys are specifically brought in and they're just going to deal with that. That's it, period. But now, okay, with no management team and Max essentially being the guy, and then what do? You get rumors right after this game. You get the rumors that, hey, he's not going anywhere. Like he's staying. But then today, you hear that, no, it's not a certainty. Nobody really knows what's going to happen, but I do not see enough there for our overall game on the pitch. And at the end of the day, I'm thankful for Max being the guy to guide this team through the dark period, like earlier on in the season. And he probably ended up being the guy through that moment. But if we want to get serious about what happens on the pitch and move forward, I don't think you can continue. I don't think you can continue this.
I think I
Lex, have the players given up?
I think the players have given up. I do. And like just going off of Al's last point, I put a tweet out that kind of summarizes that well, is the longer that we keep Allegri as the coach, the longer we delay forward progress of the club. And I think that that's just the way that it is right now for the team. And I agree, Anth. I do think that I think the players yesterday, it was evident that they're they're starting to give up. I think it's frustrating because I think if you put yourself in the player's perspective, it's as frustrating as it is for us as fans to watch that type of play on the pitch. I mean, sometimes I question if we're even playing the same sport as when I go watch like other teams outside of Juve. And I think as a player, there's moments where when the system isn't clicking and you don't have an outlet, so you lose the ball or you're no longer receiving the ball in space. And for example, a player like Chiesa, like how many times did we play him in behind? Like hardly ever, right? And I think there comes to a point where as a player, you start to question even your own abilities. And you can see it happening. Like, for example, Vlahovic is a perfect example of that right now. He's not receiving the ball. He's isolated. He doesn't have outlets. The system's not clicking. It's really difficult on the number nine, especially the lead guy. And then I think you begin to get down on yourself as a player. You start to question how you can play. You may question, like, can I even play this sport properly anymore? It just doesn't feel like it's supposed to feel while you're playing. So I think like that's just such an important thing to remember, is that this type of system is frustrating for those guys to play in too. So I think that that maybe is wrapped up into it. I think maybe they've started to probably, yeah, sell out on the idea of Allegri for sure. I think they would have.
Yeah.
And I put on the main yesterday. It looked like this is the second or third game in a row where it looked like the other team was a man up. Anytime when we were in possession, there was three opponents around us.
We look outnumbered
No outlet.
everywhere. It's crazy. We
Yeah.
look outnumbered in defense. We looked outnumbered in offense. I'm like, are we ever like having an overload anywhere on the field? Like we just look outnumbered everywhere.
I just I'm not seeing enough from him. Our games are the same. It's rinse and repeat, and it's just the same thing. There's nothing clearly directed towards the opponents we're playing in order to hurt them. And when you're
Yeah.
playing the bigger teams, like we can get away with it, and we can get away with it when we play the lesser sides, and it doesn't look so bad, and then we're going through it. But then every time big games step up, more often than not, under Max in these past two seasons, we fall flat on our face, and that's the big problem. So while people might some fans that are still with Allegri's side, because there's still a lot that are backing Max that say you have to stick with him. I don't see enough to stick with him because, again, while we were getting those results, we still knew and we were still saying the jury is still out on Max because of so much outside of that, and it has to still get better. And this offense is just not enough. It's not enough. Anth, what were the numbers in games we've conceded? 13 losses, 4 wins.
There we go. 4 wins, 7 draws, and now 14 losses.
It's crazy, and that feeling, that confidence is not there in this team. When you're not scoring goals and stuff, that's why you see a team that the second they concede looks completely deflated because they know, oh God, are we going to be able to find the back of the net?
When was the last time we scored 2 goals? I think it was March. I
It was
don't think
against
we've done it
Freiburg,
in.
and it was 10 games ago.
I think DiMarco had more faith in us scoring because he was turned away with his head under a towel at the end of the match. And I was like, we're not scoring. I don't know what you're so worried about, but I thought that
I
was, yeah.
Yeah,
and it's
Let's
just
just clear. Okay, I just want to clear something up here. The board has nothing to do with football matters.
yes.
I know some people here are saying we got to get more football people on the board. That's not what a board of directors does. The board of directors runs the whole company. Remember, Juventus is the first team, the Primavera, the next gen, the women's team, marketing. Blah, 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 blah. It's a bigger animal than just the first team.
Yeah.
That's why you have Scandavina and Calvo, who run the first team. right? They're the football, and actually they run all the footballing side of it. They're the football people, not the board of directors. They have nothing to. You can put you can put Del Piero on the board. Wouldn't make a difference.
Now, we're going to get to this in financial terms. Is it wise for them to get rid of Max Allegri this season? Because we know that financially, it's just upwards of 60 million euros to pull the trigger on that contract and say, see you
60?
later. I see Lex's eyes kind of.
I thought it was
Still worth
20.
it. Still worth it.
No, it's like 60 million euros to break the contract.
Can we get a confirmation on that? Because
That's
then
what was the last report from, I believe it was Mirko. It was either Mirko, Skira, or Romeo. It was one of those guys that said the financial cost that it would cost them is 60 million to actually break it. His contract, his salary, everybody thinks is that's it, but there's other incorporations in that contract that are affected that make the sum around 60 million euros to break that. But, and Hanid's saying, no, it's not 60. The last known report I've seen from those, I can't remember which out of those three it was, says it is around 60 million euros. Okay. Champions
what a
League,
lawyer
no.
that guy has.
And it's not with 60 million if you don't make Champions League. If Juve qualifies for European play, he is guaranteed. What that stipulation is that if Juve didn't qualify for European play, they would have an out on the contract. Okay?
This is European or just Champions League? 'Cause I thought we could terminate it if you didn't.
Well, that's the thing, is the details said European play, but I would assume it's Champions League. Okay? So even if we make just Europa League or whatever, then I believe we have an out there. Okay? But there's a lot of financial bonuses and things that are added into that, okay, that are not being considered. Where there's a lot of people out there that are just saying, oh, it's going to cost you 20 million, 30 million, because they're just going based on salary. No, there's much more to it. It's not so easy. He has to stay for the end of the season anyways. You're not going to make a change right now. And you're not going to just say, okay, like, there's no point in doing it right now at this moment. Okay? But come season's end, okay? And whatever. For whatever you guys want to decide, call it 40 million with bonuses, okay? Call it 30 million, 40 million. Just to answer the question, does it make sense to do it financially come end of the season? Anth?
No. Financially, no. If we're not in
Financially,
Europe,
no.
financially, no.
But I would do it.
I would do it too. I think the longer you keep
Yeah.
him, the more you lose value on assets, the more you lose players that want to come to the club. So potential assets. I think that there's other ways
Good point.
it can affect the club financially beyond that like set price that you're going to lose when you have to pay him out.
Yeah.
We're getting investigated for Ravella's deal. Like, they better, if they want to cancel this, they better button up this cancellation real tight, because I don't want to hear another Plus Valenza fucking investigation on firing Allegri. God, it'd be great
think it would be
content, but you know,
ideal if
Europa
it was
League.
the other way.
Like,
Oh, go ahead.
factoring in Europa League and whatnot. And people say, well, if you win that, why wouldn't you keep him around? I still wouldn't do it. If we shithouse our way to a Europa League victory, I would be ecstatic, and I would be happy for Max, because there's your sign off. But if we shithouse our way to that, can't see it. Can't see it still continue on and doing that. And I know that
you see no way.
and some people
Top
say, oh, it's
four.
crazy or whatever. Those that are still protecting Allegri. But, I mean, is it that crazy when we got rid of other managers that won trophies, that were winning big games at least? Weren't dropping a disgusting percentage of big games over 2 years? I don't think it's crazy at all.
So that one person on Twitter, I know Lex, you always ask for the stats from Aziz. He puts out the stats on
He does Allegri in big games.
Allegri. What's considered a big game? Like European games and top 7 opponents? Is that, or top 4 opponents? Is that what
Yeah.
he's calling big games?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much that. If it's against like someone who's, I guess, more or less direct competition for how we're going to finish in the season, and then yeah.
Those stats are not good either.
No, I don't know
It's
his latest, tweet, but it's pretty bad. There's a
You should
whole
get it
thread.
updated.
now again. There's so much to factor in here, so much to, and when we talk about coaches, and I don't even want to get into the discussion of another coach coming in here, new coaches and everything. And I hate to come out here like I would have loved nothing more than for this team to just strive and thrive and continue on and win and whatnot. And I was rooting for Max. I really, really was. But I can't get behind that Juventus display yesterday. Like I said earlier on, probably one of the worst I've ever seen. This include our banter era. We had fight in our banter era. We had fight.
Yeah.
We had heart.
Yeah, I can't remember a game where I sat there and said, I don't even know what. Like I was speechless. No, there hasn't been very many that have left me like, wow, I don't even know what the hell I'm watching here. You're right. And I've been around a lot longer than some people here on this panel. That was the worst I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah. I struggled
I can't
to
think
of
of
a
one that was
game.
worse.
I struggled to think of a game that awful, that pitiful. And I felt so bad. I had, obviously the crew from Juventus Official Fan Club Toronto has been there for the Napoli match, this Inter match and whatnot. And I had another follower and friend of the channels that was reaching out to me, sending me videos and stuff from Milan, and all hyped up and everything. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad for people spending their hard-earned money and going out and seeing something like that people don't even want to watch on their TV, let alone be there in person, spending your hard-earned money to watch a team that essentially doesn't even care. That's what it felt like. And for Max afterwards to come out, whether it's a joke or not, and I know that Anthony and I got into this with Alex, our friend here, follower and friend of the channel, and he says, I've come to like Max Allegri's press conference, and he's totally just taking a piss. That's not the time to take the piss out of anybody. Okay? It's not the point to take the piss out of anyone. Saying that this team played good for 60 minutes, I'm starting to think that that's why we struggle so much, because you've actually lost your vision, Max. Okay? And you're not even actually watching what everybody else is watching. Whether you're trying to protect your players, whatever you're trying to do. And the question was asked, what do you want him to say? I just want him to just stop pissing in everyone's cup and telling them it's apple juice, for Christ's sake. Just be, you know what? We played like shit.
Warm apple juice.
We played like shit. It's unacceptable. And I made mistakes. Because you did, Max. Take some fucking ownership for what is going on and stop with all the nonsense. For the first half of the year, we had to listen to how you needed these guys. These guys are back and you can't do anything with them. Yes, he has done a good job in dealing with all the BS. But at the 100%. End of the day,
he's still a football manager.
At the end of the day, it's what happens on the pitch. Bottom line. Accountability. And if you don't have accountability as a coach, what is that going to do for your players?
I can see let me just try and figure out what the hell's going on here. When he does say things to not throw players under the bus, I'll give him credit for that. Like sometimes you see other managers who just absolutely dump on their players post-game, and no one likes to see that. On the flip side, when you and your team don't perform, it's like, yeah, don't lie. You're lying to me to say you played well for 60 minutes. You held the ball for 60 minutes, but you didn't do anything with it because the other team decided that they didn't want you to do anything with it. So I just, yeah, a lot of people here are saying hey, he's got to take ownership. I think enough's enough of the protecting the players, protecting himself, protecting the club, you know, making everything like, big hugs and bran muffins. It's not. It is ugly out there. And you're right. He's got to own up to it. And the
I'd
players
like,
should too.
yeah, I'd like for him to take some responsibility too. I know, like we always kind of compare this back, but like there were post-match pressers when Pirlo took responsibility, accountability for mistakes he had made in the game, and it's like I'd like to see Allegri do that once. And I think, like you said, in terms of this whole post-match thing, he plays this like reverse psychology game. He like says the opposite of what everyone knows is true, which he's like done before. Like you said, I don't know if it's whether it's to protect the team and the players. He's done that with players that have dropped like a stinker, and he'd be like, oh, he had a good game. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I know he's kind of known to do that, but as you said, it's just like, it's kind of the fans and everyone are getting fed up with it. Like, you just want to see some honesty, some accountability. And I think that a lot of us would have a lot more respect for him if he did that in the post match press conferences.
I can't think of a time I've heard Max say that he's gotten anything wrong. It's usually jokes and one off, whatever. And I agree with what Lex is saying that you would tend to side with somebody more when they come out and own up. It's like, even in life, if somebody does something piss you off or whatever, what pisses you off even further? If they are quick to apologize and say, you know what, yeah, I got that wrong, I'm really sorry. Okay, yeah, okay, that's cool, thanks, I feel for that, whatever. Or a guy that just lies to you, to your face, to try and get out of it.
Or girl.
Yeah, Lex.
I didn't say
Now,
Lex. I'm just saying women lie all the time.
listen, here's the thing. The crazy job security. Is that why he's getting so caught? I don't know. But here, all I know is that
I would be.
when Pirlo was in here, and not because of Pirlo, okay? But when he was there as manager, Max had a hell of a lot to say when he was unemployed.
Couldn't get him off the mic.
He had a hell of a lot to say about coaching and all these things and all these beliefs. At the end of the day, you are now in that chair and you're trying to essentially tell us that everything you spewed for 6 months before you came back into that chair doesn't essentially matter and doesn't apply to you. Unacceptable. The excuses need to stop. Okay? They have to stop, period. Everything else we were hearing, the roster, all this, yes, the roster needs work, but is it to the point where that is all we can expect on the pitch? Because if that is the case, then I tell you what, fire sale. And start with all the 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds we have and start from ground up. Because I can't take another second of watching whatever the fuck they want to call that yesterday, but it sure as hell wasn't football.
Is our roster better than 19 of the 20 clubs in Serie A?
Yeah, I stand by that. I think it's the best roster still, to be honest. I know
Pound
that
for
some people
pound.
don't agree with me, but
I
I
don't
think we
know
have
if
the
I'd say the best, but it's definitely
Top
in
three, top
that
four.
upper echelon. But the problem is that when you play those other teams, you've it's just it's terrible. It's terrible when you line up against the good teams and you know that shit, we're gonna have to make a living on 6 attempts probably and try and steal this game. You can't get away stealing. Yesterday, Juventus, and for the majority of the season, has been a punching bag. Okay? A punching bag. Juve should never be a punching bag and go into games like that. And time after time after time, waiting for adverse scenarios to actually play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. Bullshit. And the roster, I see it in the chat. Everyone's going to disagree on where our roster is, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I still say there are teams with far less talent. You don't need all the talent in the world to execute a game plan based on who you're playing that makes sense. You don't need the and there's a separation from quality of roster and utilizing your guys and having them thrive and doing well. Those are two completely separate, different things. So whether our quality of the roster doesn't line up to the top, it still doesn't mean that we should just accept the fact that a guy like Chiesa is invisible every time he plays under Max. That Di Maria can't find any kind of rhythm. That Vlahovic went from competing for Capocannoniere with Fiorentina to can't even get a shot in a game.
Let's remember, Chiesa was not playing well before his knee injury, too.
Yeah, that goes before. This might be one of the biggest drops I've ever seen. Bigger than Vlahovic. And I know that Chiesa's got health issues and we're worried about his knees and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm not seeing it. And this is why I go back to, even if we get results, even if we shithouse our way to Europa or whatnot, it's not enough for me to be happy or comfortable moving forward. Guys, bottom line, that's just how I feel. Storm the barn. These guys didn't even wait for the cue today, and I love it. Fire away.
What about man of the match? We just totally skipped over that.
Man of the match? Are you serious?
I was thinking about it last night. I couldn't come up with one. I was
My man of the match is you, Anth, for handling the main for that game. For Christ's sake.
Well, if
man of the match. Pedin probably, though.
Pedin, yeah.
Pedin, yeah.
Stopped it from being even worse. Even worse. Now, Storm the bar. Man of the match. Jesus Christ. Is this a coincidence? Ever since Miretti starting instead of Fajoli, the rest of the players are playing poorly. I'm well aware that Miretti is playing well.
Come on.
I wanted to touch on this because I thought it was kind of interesting. Like, I think Luca had a question too about Fajoli being benched. He hasn't started since that mistake that he made against Sassuolo. And I think, like, with that moment of him crying on the bench and whatever, I think it had more to do, less with the mistake and more to do with the fact that he knew that that was it for him. He's going to be in a period where he's going to be in the doghouse. And I think that that was the case for Miretti for a while. And it's almost like they've, like, swapped places now. Now that one's back on good terms, the other one's back in the doghouse. So I think that comment was funny, like, in terms of that. But, I mean, I thought Miretti did decent yesterday, but I thought we missed Fajoli out there. I don't understand why he benched him. And then, like, Illing Jr., where's that guy been? Like, he popped up on the screen at halftime, and I'm like, he's alive? Like, I thought that was, I'm like, what? Where is this? Like, we have guys like this, and it's like, why aren't they seeing the field? Like, especially with how, like, those players that started performing in the first half, like, would have made at least, like, 3 substitutions, put those other players on. Like, come on, man.
Is this a coincidence? Ever since Miretti's starting instead of Fajoli, the rest of the players are playing poorly. I don't think it's because of Fajoli. I really don't.
Rabiot's tailed off. Locatelli had a bad game. But Locatelli had a bad game yesterday, but that was his first bad game in a while.
In a very long time. Yeah.
And this is another thing. I mean, while we're so harsh on... And I truly believe rightfully so in terms of organization and game plan and structure and whatnot. These guys could just be bagged. But again, you have guys like Lex points to Illing Jr. that just doesn't get used, doesn't get minutes, doesn't get rotated in. Fajoli, I've been very vocal about this the past week and a half. You're carrying way too much if you're going to break down after one mistake like that. So giving him a reset, it's fair to say, okay, that's enough of a reset. You could probably come back in now. That's fair. But Miretti's been fine. And he's been doing well and whatnot. It just comes down to overall, we have a group, we have a team that is playing on April 26th, and it might as well be September at the start of a year. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And does that sound familiar? Because it should. Because we've run into that with Max many times. I used to remember hearing about Max's team's peak in March. I remember the famous peak in March talks. I don't remember really seeing them. You know?
We had a good March.
Sure. We peak. If that was the peak, though, this
That's
It
makes
was
why.
four
sense.
games. It was 4 games in March. Great March.
We already
I don't
peaked.
think it's
That's why.
I don't think it's because of Fajoli the rest of the struggles.
Mm-mm.
I can't really get into that. Um, Not for me. Let's get into some more here. After that mistake, Fajoli. Okay, and so again, it goes into Fajoli. Got benched last 3 games, all big games too. What do you guys think? My opinion: benching a young player after a mistake is a dinosaur approach. I think it's more to do with the emotional breakdown and not just the mistake itself. And that's why I said I can see it, because to me it, and I said it instantly on a tweet, it looks to me like he's carrying way too much of a burden on his shoulders and whatnot. And usually, as a player, that's not a good thing. I think Max is actually protecting him. And you guys could say he's probably overprotecting him. Like I said earlier, that's probably fair. But
Like
I
we do
don't
with
think he's
Lucci.
doing it in terms of punishment or the doghouse. I think it's to give him that reset. That's how I look at it, anyways. Do you guys agree, or do you think it is just a
Lex.
dinosaur approach and he's fucking up there?
I think personally, like, while it may have good intentions, I didn't really consider that in terms of perhaps he's protecting him. I think that, in my opinion, even like as a player, I think that's like the worst thing you can do to a player. Personally, I think that he should have given him a vote of confidence and given him support and allowed him the chance to prove himself on the field. Because no matter what Allegri tells him, is probably still going to weigh on the fact, like, I conceded that goal, that was my fault, now I'm getting punished for it. I think it'll just, like, no matter what he does, I think he'll probably interpret it that way. So I think that, yeah, in my opinion, never a good move, especially for a player like Fajoli that has been so crucial for us in points this season and has had such a positive season. So in my opinion, bad move. I think that hurts the confidence of the player, but I can see the good intentions, Al, as you pointed out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to ruin his confidence to the point where he's going to go start selling peppers on the side of the road somewhere. On this, like he'll be fine. Like he'll be fine, people.
How many
I
peppers have
agree
you
with
bought
Lex.
off the side of a road, by the way?
Yeah, what?
Peppers.
I choose not to answer that question. But Lex, you need to play. I think I can't remember which show it was. If it was after the Sassuolo game or the next game, we said you put him right back in. You make a mistake like that, you play him. You put him right back in the game as a starter. But the next game he came in off the bench, and then that's right, he left Raspadori wide open at the back post. But he should have started that Napoli game.
I can get behind this comment from Leo and say that 3 games is probably too much. Okay, like I said, I can get behind that. It's tough. It's tough. Look at the storm. The bars just keep rolling. We're gonna try to get through as many as we can. We
Yeah,
still got
let's
some
go.
time here. RB comps. This guy's been defending Allegri forever, and even he says it's just I can't defend it anymore. Eyes are bleeding, Max. Jesus, what does his grandson have to say? That's what I'm curious about. Jesus.
Yeah.
Eyes are
He was
bleeding.
giving him
If you
shit
go,
while we were winning 1-0. What's he
checked
saying
out.
now? Oh, I got one. Uh-oh. I might have to apologize to someone. I had a Storm the Barn question, and I think that I totally did accidentally get rid of it completely and wipe it out. So somebody out there, and I didn't get a chance to see who it was on their profile.
This is what happens when you
Sorry.
don't let
And
me
the
help.
chat's been absolutely on fire. So good luck to me trying to go back that far and find it.
I have
But
no control, people.
yeah,
It's not me either.
I'm
Yeah.
going to take
I would
full
help.
responsibility on
You
that
should,
one.
Max.
All right.
I mean,
I should do that too.
mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can. Oh, I found it.
No, you didn't. You just
Boom.
typed it in.
Boom.
You just typed it in. You sly son of a.
Surely we are not winning anything this season. Even top 4 looks unlikely to me. Do you think Max will be there next season? So, number 1,
Bikram,
I
God, you're positive.
I
You're one
agree
of the
there
most
is a
positive
slim
people on here.
chance we win
Appreciate the support,
anything.
though.
I think there's it's gonna be, if we could pull off Europa League, I would be ecstatic. But right now, the confidence has faded drastically.
What
Top
are we
4 though,
against?
I'm confident we finish in top 4.
I am not.
No, Lex.
We're
Top
only
four?
3 points up.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards Ant. I'm a bit nervous. There's that like second last match against Milan, which I don't know, those guys are on a tear right now. I think that could like be maybe a deciding match for top four. I don't know. I don't know.
Right?
Like,
Are we only 3 points up or four? Like it's
yeah,
not
we're not
much.
that, yeah,
I,
safe.
I think I think we'll get top four, but I think it kind of ends there. And should we
Whoa,
continue
whoa,
with
whoa.
him next
You think
season? I
we'll
think
get?
we've all kind of
You
said,
think we'll get? You think we'll get top four because we get top four, or the other team shit the bed enough for us to maintain top four?
well, yeah, either way it's top four, but probably because they're going to
Fair
falter.
enough.
But it top four, we'll get top four. I
All right.
I watched the rest of those those teams, and it's funny. They're celebrating seasons where they're doing that. We're in the shits and all losing our mind, and that is just like something we will get. We will get in top
I'm just
four.
putting this out there. I'm just gonna put this out there right now. The Europa League semifinal against Sevilla. The first leg is at home. Right now, Juventus is minus 120 favorites. Sevilla pays plus 370. A draw is 240. That I might be putting it.
Where
I'm
did
not
they
going to
come
bet
up?
against
Where did they
Juventus. I
come
wouldn't
up
do
with
such
those?
a thing.
They must not even be what like.
That is big favorites to win that first leg.
Was there any positives from yesterday's game? I had a hell of a time finding any positives, and I will say this:
I got one.
Petting continues to be a positive for me. Petting, that's it.
Yeah. The whole banter between myself and Omar now is just a moot point between Tech or Petting. Put either one of them in, we'll be fine. They're not the
Yeah,
issue.
but Petting.
I would go.
Conte to build us again, and then the Zerbi to fix everything.
I'm not even going to answer this. Lex?
Ooh, this is
I'm a
wow.
no on Conte. I'm a no on Conte.
No on Conte for me.
Yeah, I think I'm ready for a fresh start. I think just bring in De Zerbi and don't even need the building phase.
After
from
this
Conte.
2.0, I don't want another 2.0 of anyone, anything, no, no, no.
Just cut that off right after then. Just go De Zerbi to fix everything.
We're upset
Okay.
with Max not taking accountability. I don't want to hear the excuses from Conte.
Realistically, is De Zerbi even a remote option?
No, I don't think so
No.
at all. I think he's staying in the Prem. Definitely.
We missed that boat.
Yeah, we
Pretty
did.
sure that ship has sailed.
But
Is it
no
an
sh-
overreaction to raise eyebrows at Bremer after yesterday? Okay.
Yeah,
Is-
Go ahead, Al. You go first.
No.
Yes.
I'll go first.
Yes.
Oh.
No.
You don't
Guys are
think it's an
crazy.
overreaction to raise eyebrows at him?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes. I thought I missed the. It's covered by my camera. Overreaction. I thought, should we raise eyebrows after yesterday?
Fuck, you don't pay attention like that again. I'm going to have to you on the side of the road selling peppers.
Is it overreaction? Yeah. Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, what?
I mean, he did look very bad on that Dzeko play, and I get that whatnot, but ultimately, maybe, just maybe, he wasn't fully fit. And maybe, just maybe, he probably could have used not playing yesterday, but we needed him in there.
Are we seriously going to cook a center back for getting beat close range one-on-one with a striker? I know it's an older striker, but
it's a pretty damn
the striker
old
should win that. The
And he
striker should
doesn't-
win that 99 times out of 100.
I don't know, man. Dzeko trying to cut a D-man looks like how I picture you with no knees trying to cut a D-man. Not you in
solid.
your prime, but like you now trying to cut a D-man. Like, it was pretty cautious, pretty slow, and nonetheless.
I don't know. It looked like he thought it was offside. Like, was it just me, or like it looked like he was like half trying on it? It's like he knew. I knew
He was
like
a mile
wasn't-
offside. He was way off.
That's what I'm
I-
saying. I think Bremer thought I think Bremer didn't really try because he knew it was offside. He had his
Good
arm up.
point.
I don't know. That was like kind of my take on it. I like watched him. Like, doesn't feel like a 1v1 right now. I'm like, Bremer's kind of just standing there.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look what we're in. But is it, to cause concern over him? No. I don't think so.
Did he have a bad game yesterday?
I don't think so. I mean, the game died after 15 minutes because they scored
Yeah.
and they were like, okay, find a goal, and they knew that we probably weren't gonna. But
We
I don't
sit
think any
here
concerns for Bremer.
we sit here every post game and say Bremer is at least notable mention for man of the match, game in and game out. If
But
he's not the man of the
what
match,
have I been saying about Bremer though, everybody? He's way better in the back three in the heart and not out to one of the sides. He's different. He's different. Even on that play like that we see them get the goal and stuff like that, like it just I don't know. He looks out of sorts when he's not been in the middle for us. I know people will bring up his time at Torino and everything, but I'm just saying from what I've seen this season with us, he always looks better in the heart of the three.
I thought
And
that
maybe
goal,
that's because of the guys around him after, but that's just how I see it.
no, that's a good point, Al. And I think on that goal, I thought also Luca missed the screen on that pass. Like that was he was supposed to screen that lane and he was like
Yeah.
off of
they
that.
all followed. Three of them followed Jekyll. First of all, I don't think that pass was meant for DeMarco. A, B, he mishit it. Right?
No, he outside of the boot it this way. That's why
No,
Pedin was going this way because he looked like he was gonna
me, it
just
looked
slot it straight, but he just outside the boot little tap.
to me. It looked like he meant to outside the boot it to his right, Padin's left, but he mishit it and it went down the center. It dribbled in down the middle. But whatever. It was great. It looked good, but I
Yeah.
think there was a lot of mistakes that let that happen.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
see,
don't
I
think
didn't bury Padin on that. See, did you see? I didn't say that was Padin's fault, like Omar said on Tech's goal against
Can
Napoli.
we
See,
overturn the situation and win Europa League?
I mean,
Start doing that. Start praying,
overturn
everybody.
what situation?
the chance
Just
is there. What, 3 games? 3 games away. I don't know. It's there. That's a knockout tournament. That's the beauty of it. Is it didn't matter how consistent you are over the league. Like, you play well on that one-off game or in 2 off games, you're good.
Confidence is fading. Does this team have that belief, that inner belief to go out and get the job done? Sevilla will probably be the toughest by far that we're facing. I don't know anymore. This team
Aren't they in,
is
like,
battling
14th
themselves all the time.
aren't they like mid-table in Spain right now?
This tournament is like built for them, man. They just
Yeah,
every time.
they're
So
the Real Madrid of the Europa League. You know?
after what happened to us with like Ajax, all this and Porto, so like I'm not overlooking anybody anymore. And the way we play, we can't overlook anyone. I don't even care if they were in relegation spots in their league. I'm looking at them not feeling 100% confident based on what we are doing. Flat out. Can we do it though? Of course we can do it. We could do it. But one day at a time. One game
Yeah,
at
but
a time.
okay,
The home game
okay.
is huge, being the first
massive,
match. Massive.
Need at least a 2-goal lead going into the second leg.
Have
All right,
to.
we don't score 2 goals in a game.
That'll be the game to do it. If Max digs his heels in and refuses to resign, would you be willing to sacrifice some of our summer transfer budget, if any, to force him out? Yes. Yes.
Agreed. Yes.
I would be
That is
willing
the
to set if things finish as we are now, okay? No drastic improvement in our key guys and the play. I would be willing to sacrifice to get changes. You have to hold someone accountable. The roster has issues, but you address them, and they have started to address that. They started to address that before. But the problem is you're never going to wipe a 20-man roster clean. You can't do that. And again, it comes with the position. I didn't choose his career, okay? I didn't say, hey, Max, go be a coach. The pressure is on the coaches. And at Juventus, the pressure will always remain. It's not going away. So again, stability and everything, we want it, but you have to have something that is worth clamping down on and saying, I'm going to back that. Right now, I'm not seeing.
I said, keep Dusan, keep Sandro, bring back the loanees, right? And then make one $20 to $30 million purchase in the summer for Tezzy, center back, left back. Fill one or two holes, 1 to 2 medium purchases, and then that's it. That's going to be our summer.
Yeah.
Then you can afford to get rid of Max.
They got to do something, everybody. You can't just let things continue like this. There is very little, if any, progress. And if we're talking about progress, I say very little defensively. But in terms of offense, in terms of the overall, in terms of... And I get that it's tough to gauge that based on the outside circumstances that Juventus faces. However, these are the cards you're dealt. We had another manager that we were complaining about roster for, okay? We were playing a double pivot of Rabiot and Artur. And we were generating
those days?
And creating way more opportunities. So when I continue to hear that it's the midfield, that's why Max can do, because the midfield. This midfield is not worse than a midfield that was a two-man pivot with Artur and Rabiot. There's no chance in hell this midfield is worse than that. We had Aaron Ramsey on the outside of that midfield.
Luca's guy.
There is no way this midfield is worse than that. You people have to stop telling yourself that. Those of you that are failing to just recognize Max Allegri's shortcomings. This roster may need work, but there is no way it is to the degree that we are trying to place it into. No chance, everybody.
Pirlo won a trophy with Frabotta as a left back.
Let's be fair. Frabotta didn't play the whole season at left back. Come on.
So,
let's just...
Frabotta, Jesus. Anyways.
Let's just pump the brakes there.
I want to specifically stay away from up front because everybody will say Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that, but midfield. Games are won and lost in the middle of the pitch. I fail to believe our midfield is worse than that midfield. Okay? So when we're talking about that's why our guys can't create, that's why Allegri can't integrate anything. No, I won't have it. And I'm glad somebody loved Frabotta. All right? Now, real quick recap for everybody. All right? In terms of the news that came out today, you've got Juve. We're going to find out very soon on them in terms of how they're going to defend the salary maneuver case. That is the big, big news of the day. We have to wait and see and find out, but that is the next step. All of this is going on. And again, if we were winning, if we were getting it together, but right now we are in a very, very bad stretch, a stretch we haven't seen for a long time. Losing 3 straight in Serie A hasn't happened since 2011, everybody, okay? 2011. The fact of the goals running completely dry, scary. It scares me. It really, really does. Fullbacks are the main issue. Fullbacks are an issue. Absolutely. Absolutely. Does that still mean we can't see better than what we were seeing right now? I'm not so sure of it. So
our fullbacks an issue? We only give up 1 goal a game. I don't think they're an issue right now.
But fullbacks in the modern game have a ton of influence on your attack and what you do.
Fair enough.
We saw Mancini and what he did with the Azzurri, and he made do with one good fullback. Obviously, Spinazzola then got hurt, and what happened? That team looked to struggle offensively. But he did it with one attacking, prominent, strong fullback, and it gave the others up top freedom. And it allowed Insigne to look like he could still swing it at that level. Immobile, well, that takes a hell of a lot more. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, and it's April 26th. We shouldn't have that much work. It's 27 today. Shouldn't have that much work to do. Go back to the drawing board. Max, stop bitching at other managers. Stop getting in their faces. Start worrying about yourself and what this team can do. Figure it out. We got, 7 league games to finish up. Okay, and we've got a semifinal in Europa League. Let's try and make the most of it. Top 4.
Is that next week? No, 2
We've
weeks.
got Bologna this weekend, okay? So it's going to happen on Sunday. And, hey, Bologna, it's not going to be any easy task at all. 8th spot in the table. Doing relatively well as of late. I think in their past 5, they've only dropped 1 game. 2 wins, 2 draws. Don't quote me on that, but I believe they've only dropped 1 out of their last 5. This is not a gimme by any means. Nothing's a gimme anymore for this Juve. And that's part of the problem, all right? So let's hope they can come out with an inspired performance. And let's just hope we don't ever see what we saw yesterday. Everybody's frustrations were flying.
Thiago Motta's tricky Bologna, I think. That's right.
Yeah. Orsolini, 8 goals, 3 assists. We're being investigated for that one. Apparently wasn't worth that value. Imagine that. Who knows? But every transfer will be looked at from here on out. It's hilarious. The league's a joke. Everything's a joke. I just don't want Juve to be a joke. Play better. Beat Bologna, for the love of Christ. All right? So everybody, no matter what, don't let things out of your control drive you crazy or piss you off. Let's worry about Sunday when it comes. I'll keep you in touch with the news on daily update videos. We're going to be live Sunday, same time, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, getting you hyped up for that game. And then, of course, watch along. All right? And hopefully we get some goddamn goals. Let's get some
I'm losing lots of money on these
And Dom,
bets
you're
here.
goddamn right. It's a witch hunt. They're all witch hunts. Come on, man.
Hey,
Come
Dom's
on.
still here. Dom's
Everybody,
stuck in the
look
whole
at this.
time.
They're dropping predictions.
Nice.
2-0 Bologna. Oh my God. I hope not. I hope not. Everybody, take the second to like the video. Okay, on your way out, drop some comments. Let's hope for a much, much better performance on Sunday. I'll keep you in touch in the news. Take care, everybody. Live chat. You guys are fire as always. Thank you for the continued support. As always, no matter what, we ain't going anywhere. We ride or die with Juve, all right? So, fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Max, sort this shit out, man.
Max.
Sort this shit out.
Hey.
Or is Max going to get the te? Maybe. Figure it out, man. Let's go. Ciao tutti.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.